Hello everyone and welcome to two awesome tutorials. I hope you all are having an amazing day. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Java from the very beginning, and I'll be telling you every basic thing you need to know about Java. As you know that computers understand only binary numbers like 0 and 1, it was hard for us to communicate with the computers in order to for it to be helpful for us. So back then Weissman created Java. Now what Java does is that it converts simple coding into binary numbers, which further is understood by the computers. So there are other high level languages like C++, JavaScript and Python, etc. But today I'm going to be teaching you about Java. So as you can see over here, the software that I'm using is Java Eclipse. That's because I'm used to it, but there are other softwares out there as well like IntelliJ. You can use that if you want to. I have no objections. It's going to work the same. So the first thing that we're going to be doing here is going to make a Java project, and let's just name it tutorial 1. I'm going to click on the finish, and then it's going to ask to create a module, which is not really necessary, so let's not create that. And then we're going to right click on the tutorial and go to source and then create a class. Now here it's going to ask the name for the class. Let's say the class is tutorial as well, and we want the main method to be created. Now I'll be telling you about main method once I create it, so you have to click on this one because main method should be there. So yeah, what really the main method does is that when you type in the code and click on the run button, it's going to run every code that is inside the main method. So the good thing about Java is that you can create different type of memories and store variables in it. Now here let's just say that we want to create a memory of integer type. Now int is the keyword for making integer type of memory. Now what you can do inside the integer type memory is that you can store integers. Let's say a is equal to 29. So this means that a is the memory, the name of the memory, and 29 is stored in it. And in this way there are a lot more memory types like double, like long, like float, and characters, and even string types. I'll be telling you about strings, but yeah, these are the memories that you can create. So in double you can store values that are in in dots, like in points or fractions, and the same goes for float. But in double I think you can store values that are larger than float, and in long you can store longer numbers, and for characters you can store characters, and for string you can store sentences or words. So yeah, for character it's going to save one character, and for string you can just give sentences or anything. So yeah, let's just say we have a string type of memory. String name is equal to Sabir. So now we see that Sabir is stored in memory, string type memory called name. Now if we want this name to be printed out and to be shown to user, we have to write system dot out print name. And if you run this, the name is going to be printed, which I wrote is Sabir. Now if we print this name again, and let's say we overwrite the name over here, you can also override it by writing name is equal to user, and if you run it, it's going to print Sabir first, which is the name over here, and then it's going to override it and then prints out user. Now you might be wondering why is it in the same line. To change the line you have to come to the first print statement that we wrote over here and add ln to the print, and we're going to be shown with something like this, severe, and then the line is changed, and then we have user printed. So that's how you create memories, initialize it, and then print it if you want it to be. We can also just system.out.println, and let's say we use the memory name, which is name and dot. Now when you click on dot, there are a lot of things that you can do using methods. These are already created methods in the Java library. So when we go down, these are all everything that you can do. You can print out the char at index 0, index 1, 2, 3, and let's just say we want it to be in capital. Okay, we want the name to be in capital, so we use to uppercase and semicolon, and then run it. So you see the name is edited and shown in capital letter. So if you want to make it to lowercase, and system.out.println name dot to lowercase, which is right here. So semicolon added. Remember to put semicolons after every printing statement or initializing memory statement. So yeah, you don't have to put semicolons after these curly braces because you don't need to. That's how Java works. But after making a method or calling a method, you have to use the semicolon. So when we run this now, the first line is severe in capital, and then it's severe in lowercase. So you can manually create the methods yourself, but we'll be getting there. But before that, I'm going to be teaching you about a class. So let's just try to create a class, a separate class. So we come to here, say class, and we're going to name the class as cars. And we don't need a main method over here because we're going to be creating a class and methods inside it, and we'll be calling it in our main method, which we have over here. So yeah. So for doing that, let's say we have a method named public static void. The name of the method is age. To make a method, you have to write the opening and closing brackets. So let's say inside this method we have printed out system.out.println my age is 22. So now to use this method, when we run it, you see that nothing has changed. It's just the two names that we printed earlier. Now let's say for that we have to create an object. You say to create an object, you have to use the name of the class that we have created, cars, and the name of the object, let's say car1 is equal to new cars, and then opening and closing bracket. Now what this will do is that to call the method, you can use the name of the object, which is car1, and when we click on the dot, it's going to show the age. So I know it doesn't make sense, how can a car have age, but yeah, you can change the name of the class to like myself, okay, myself, or an employee. If you change the name of this class to employee, it's going to be telling us that the age of the employee is 22. So yeah, let's just call this method and run it. So here it comes. Here it shows my age is 22, and we have which we have stored it here in the cars class. So in this way, you can also say that public static void public static void. Let's say we have to store the model of the car in here. Let's say model, and we want to save it in string type. Model is equal to Toyota, or it should be brand. Let's just okay. So we have stored model, which is Toyota, and system dot out dot println the name of the memory, which is called the model. And to use this method, we have to call it in our main method. Let's say we use the same object car1 dot, and I click on dot, you see that we have model over here. I click on model, save it, and run it. You see that my age is 22, and then Toyota is printed. In this way you can create a lot of objects, give it a lot of functions or methods that it can do. So yeah, that's how objects work. So now let's try to make an array. So for making an array, you have to write the type of array that you want, and these brackets, and the name of the array. Let's say ARR is the name, and then the values of the array, which are going to be, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So right here we have created the array. Also remember to put the semicolon right in the end. So to print out the values in the array, let's say we use a for loop. Now using for loops can be a little tricky for beginners. I'll tell you how to use it. I also made a separate video on loops, so if you don't know much about it, even if you don't understand after watching this video, you can just check out that video, and that video is more in details. So for making a loop, we use for, and then make a memory which is I is equal to 0. Let's say I is lesser than 7 and I plus plus. Inside this loop we want to print out all the values that are stored inside our array. So system dot out dot println, I'm going to be using the name of the array and then I in the middle. So let me tell you how this loop works. Is that the first time it runs, it's going to the I is going to be 0. I've created a memory called I. The I is going to be 0, so it's going to print out anything that's inside the 0 index of the array, which is 1. And the second time the value of the I is going to be 1, and it is going to print out the value of array's 1 index, which is 2, and that's how it prints out the whole until I is lesser than 7. If I becomes greater than 7, the loop will stop and it will break. So that's how loops work. There's also something that I forgot to say about over here, is that you can take inputs from the user and store them in memories and also print it out. So for example, for that we have to import java.util.scanner, and let's say we want to take an input from a user. That, let's say we have integer type of memory, and then, but before doing that we have to name our scanner, call it in the main class scanner ser. Now ser is the name of the scanner. New scanner system.in. You'll have to write these two things every time you want an input from the user, or in any project that you want to use input or take inputs from the user. First thing is that import java.util.scanner, and then you have to write this one line because you want the input to be taken from the user. Remember this one thing, ser, I've written over here. You can change it to anything. It's just the name of the scanner which you'll be using it. So say we want to take an integer type input from the user. We have an error over here. Okay, so system.out.println input an integer. Now to store the input in the integer, we have already created one memory. All we have to do is just write a is equal to scr, which is the name of the scanner, dot next int, and opening closing brackets. So what this will do is that store the input integer type input in a, and then if you want to print it out, system.out.println a. So let's say that input is 101, and then it prints out 101. So you can also store string type of inputs and also print them out. All you have to do is just, if it is a string type, let's say string, and ser dot for string you have to use dot next line, and then print out a, just like we did. Let's try to run it now. Input, I've wrote integer already. You can also write string. So the string is my name is beer, and prints out my name is the beer. I'm not really a professional Java user, but teaching everything in a very short time can be a little challenging for me. However, these are all the basics that you need to know to become a startup programmer. If you found this video helpful in any way, then please hit on that like button, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. That's it for now. I'll be signing off. Thank you for watching.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out.